What happens when a nation's hope for change collides with reality? October 19, 2015 was a night of victory, optimism, and promise for millions of Canadians. A fresh start led by Justin Trudeau. But fast forward to today, and many are asking, did Canada's dreams turn into disillusionment? Let's peel back the layers and uncover the truth. Election night in Canada, October 19, 2015. A historic moment unfolds as Canadians flood the polls, casting their votes for a bold future. The nation, weary of stagnant policies and rising frustrations, rallies behind one name, Justin Trudeau. Affordable housing, better living standards, and prosperity for all. The streets buzz with optimism as news anchors declare a landslide victory. Canadians believe they've turned a page, stepping into a brighter tomorrow. But here we are today facing skyrocketing home prices, strained living conditions, and a lingering question: what went wrong? Stay tuned as we dive into the promises, the challenges, and the unexpected twists of Canada's journey under Justin Trudeau's leadership. Present reality: the Canadian dream becomes a nightmare. What was once considered the Canadian dream is now increasingly slipping out of reach for many. Housing prices, once affordable, have skyrocketed to record highs. The dream of owning a home, a cornerstone of Canadian identity, the cost of a single-family home now feels more like an unattainable fantasy than a realistic goal. And it's not just about homes. Everyday survival has become harder. Across the country, food banks are overflowing, yet many are still being turned away, desperate for help. How did we get here? Why is Canada, once known for its promise of prosperity and inclusivity, now facing the harsh reality of growing inequality? What's even more shocking, are now questioning whether their dreams can be realized here. In this episode, we'll uncover the devastating impact of these shifts. Is the Canada we envision still the Canada we live in today? Let's explore the dark side of what was promised. Housing crisis, the impossible dream. The dream of homeownership in Canada is rapidly transforming into an unattainable nightmare for millions. To buy a median home in this country, you'd need to earn $170,000 a year just to keep up with the market. The average home price demands an income of $360,000 a year, far above the median family income of $70,000, and the widening chasm between the rich and the rest. Think about it. In Vancouver, you'd need $2 million just to buy a modest home. Yet for that same price, you could own a mansion in Austin, Texas, complete with a sprawling backyard. How is this possible in a country known for its inclusivity and prosperity? The once attainable dream of owning a home has turned into a nightmare that keeps getting worse. But it's not just about buying a home. Renting has become a battle of survival. Vacancy rates are at a historic low of 1.5%, leaving few options for those looking to rent. The demand for apartments is so high that tenants are forced to compete, bidding for basic living spaces like their luxury items. Meanwhile, landlords are seizing the opportunity to raise rents, exploiting the crisis and squeezing out the middle and lower class. What happened to the promise of affordable living? And an inability to push forward pro-housing policies have turned the housing market into a bureaucratic battleground. Elected officials, more focused on votes than the needs of citizens, refuse to make the tough calls needed to alleviate the crisis. The very system that was supposed to protect the Canadian dream is now undermining it. So, how did we get here? What went wrong, and who is responsible for this crisis that's crushing the dreams of so many? The answers lie in the policies that failed, the ideologies that took precedence over real solutions, and the unchecked market forces that left ordinary Canadians behind. Impact of immigration, a double-edged sword. Since 2016, Canada has opened its doors wide to immigrants, over 3 million newcomers, including 1 million foreign students. The country's reputation for being a land of opportunity has attracted people from all corners of the globe, but this influx has come with a heavy price. The increased demand for housing, jobs, and resources has only worsened an already strained system. While Canada's immigration policy remains one of the most progressive in the world, for many new arrivals, the dream of a better life in Canada is quickly overshadowed by harsh realities. In cities like Toronto and Vancouver, even students who once found refuge in affordable rentals are now living in vans or enduring grueling commutes from distant cities spending hours on the road just to attend class. What was once a beacon of hope for immigrants is now a place where dreams collide with unbearable struggles. But immigration isn't the only financial challenges for Canadians. Survival in a broken system. For the average Canadian, life has become a daily battle to survive. The cost of living in major cities has skyrocketed, an average of $3,000 per month just to rent a one-bedroom apartment in places like Vancouver or Toronto. It's no wonder Canadians are being pushed to the brink. More and more people are working multiple jobs just to make ends meet, with little to show for their tireless efforts. But it still isn't enough. As families and individuals struggle to survive in an increasingly expensive landscape, household debt has soared. Canada now ranks among the highest countries in terms of household debt, with Canadians owing more than ever before. The very system that was supposed to support a middle class now seems to be strangling it. The Canadian dream? In a country that was once a symbol of hope and prosperity, the promises of a bright future seem more like a distant memory as Canadians face mounting financial pressure. This is the story of a nation in crisis, where the dream of a better life is slipping through the fingers of those who need it most. What happens when a nation that prides itself on inclusion and prosperity forgets its own people? What happens when the Canadian dream becomes unreachable? Stay tuned. Government's role in economic struggles, a burden or a solution? As the economic struggles mount, many Canadians are turning to the government for solutions. However, what they've received instead is unchecked growth and soaring taxes. Over the past few years, public sector costs have ballooned, particularly between 2020 and 2023, putting even more strain on the average Canadian's pocketbook. Benefits seem to disappear into a growing bureaucratic black hole. But the government's economic woes don't stop there. The country's attractiveness as a safe haven for foreign investment has led to something darker beneath the surface. Canada has become a key player in the global money laundering game, with billions flowing through its financial system in ways that often go unchecked. Despite multiple investigations revealing massive issues, the government has failed to take decisive action, leaving Canadians to wonder if the system is working for them or for the interests of the powerful few. Food price inflation, filling empty stomachs. Meanwhile, the cost of living continues to rise. Food prices alone have skyrocketed by 10% since 2022. For families already struggling to afford rent and basic necessities, the price at the grocery store is an unbearable blow. In fact, record numbers of Canadians have turned to food banks. A combination of market consolidation and government protection of certain industries is creating a perfect storm, while larger corporations dominate the market, driving prices higher. Despite these troubling trends, the government has largely turned a blind eye, protecting large interests while the average Canadian gets squeezed even further. It's clear the government has failed to protect its citizens. With no major changes on the horizon, the question remains. The picture is grim. The promises of a better life under the Trudeau administration have faded, leaving citizens to face an uncertain future filled with skyrocketing costs, increasing debt, and a government more focused on protecting special interests than solving the real issues. The Canadian dream, once so vivid, now seems on the brink of collapse. A dream derailed. The promises made back in 2015 of a brighter, the vision of a thriving nation with affordable housing, accessible healthcare, what was once a beacon of hope for Canadians now stands as a cautionary tale of government mismanagement, failed policies, and unchecked growth. Looking back, it's impossible to ignore how the government's inaction in the face of critical issues has deepened the divide between its promises and the lives of ordinary Canadians. From the escalating housing crisis to the rising cost of living, the dream of a better future has been replaced by daily struggles for survival. And while foreign investments and money laundering continue unchecked, the Canadian dream, once synonymous with opportunity, how did we get here? Unrelenting truth, one that will take more than promises to fix, or if the hopes of an entire nation will forever remain in the shadow of broken dreams.